I'm very nervous, but it feels important.
Oh man, I'm glad I picked up the camera. I mean, I don't know if this is going online, but for me.
We're gonna dive into a video diary I shared that took me to a place I had no idea I would land.
I'm at a whole different level.
Left me with some really important lessons I think could be useful for someone else. Not only the outcome and the summary of these lessons, but how I got to those lessons, which is why I leave in a lot of the thinking and the unraveling.
I want to be more vulnerable and honest and genuine and true. Here it is.
I want to be one voice to bring this topic to the surface, to find a community. I assume other people have felt this, are feeling this, and to find a productive way to work through it. I'd really love for you to share any tools or reframing or stories that you have in the comments below. 2 warnings and just a tidbit of context before starting. 1, this is a roller coaster of emotions, so just prepping you for this. I start on a high because I had this revelation, and then I kind of dip down because I realized that was limiting me and my potential and my ability to serve in so many different ways, and potentially is doing the same for you if you're in that same valley. And then I end on another up because I have some various different aspects of my life all come together, literally years in the making. Second disclosure,
I'm gonna swear, sorry Dad.
which is something I don't typically do, but in this context, there just wasn't another way to explain what I was feeling. And lastly, leading up to this moment, I have been wrestling with this idea of privilege guilt. I had brought it up in some spaces, and simultaneous to this, I am reading Brené Brown's book, which is all about emotions. And then really the icing on the cake, last week I had this horrible nightmare. I was being chased by someone, and eventually like a water pail was being dumped on me, but it was a person saying, "This is guilt and grief." It was horrible. Then this happened.
What the hell have I been doing? I literally just got back from a walk and need to, for myself, document finally the space that I've arrived. I was very aware that I was in a low mindset. I'm also aware that that's not great to be there. Actually, a group member was just talking about this in the experience recently, and I'm out of it. I am freaking out of it. This is everything I will ever do with my life is yes and in this coaching practice, and everything that comes along with that, my future speaking events, my future one-on-one clients, the group paid membership community, growing YouTube and Instagram and everyone I'm connecting with there, owning my space. The phrase that keeps coming to mind is like, fuck it. Enough with the analysis, enough with not doing it all the way. I thought I was doing it all the way, but I have been thinking so small and I didn't even realize it. It was so convoluted because a lot of where this was coming from for me, and I've been talking to a lot of coaches and communities and support systems about this, is privilege guilt. Who am I to make this money? I should be doing XYZ instead of whatever else I'm doing. I'm this privileged, right, blonde girl who can start her own business and do her own coaching thing and blah, blah, blah. The part of that I want to bring in moving forward is that I do have privilege, and not everyone starts here, and everyone has their own story. And especially if I'm talking to another entrepreneur or business owner or someone who's asking for my advice, which I don't give out in a coaching space, but if I am in a space where someone is asking my advice, to bring that up so transparently that this is what my journey looked like. It was having, am I about to share numbers online? $150,000 in my savings account, plus like $100,000 in a retirement fund. $250,000, holy shit. I feel like I can't even say that. I could cry, I could cry. It's like I'm just realizing what a gift that is. I didn't expect this. Holy shit. It's like I'm just realizing what a freaking gift that is. And yes, it's a privilege, like it's a huge privilege, and how the hell did I earn that? I didn't earn that is the thing. I mean, that's the privilege guilt. Fuck. I think I think I just received it. God, it's been so heavy. It's been so heavy. Man, that feels good to like move.
And that's where the productive shift starts to happen. And with the theme of transparency, I keep saying the word savings, but it's not in a savings account. In my personal checkings and savings accounts, I have about $5,000. In my business checking and savings account, I have $8,000. And then I have $9,000 that I personally invested, $92,000 in a Roth IRA, and $110,000 in another investment account. A lot of that is because of the privilege I was born into. And this is what you see me grapple with next.
What a freaking gift. I did nothing to deserve that. The things I did is I've always been an excellent saver. I love budgeting. I will geek out about that all day. I got my first job at 16 and have saved. Holy cow, I had so many rules. You can't buy earrings because I don't know why. You can't get a shirt. You can't buy yourself coffee because you can make it at home. And to some extent that was beneficial because it allowed me to save. And also, huge part of this is I was able to save all of that money because my parents have supported me so significantly. I'm gonna cry again. My parents have supported me. I can't even make it through this. There's no way I would be where I am today without my parents. Ready to like, just say it, otherwise I'm just gonna keep crying. There's no way I'd be where I am today without my parents. There's no way, and I'll give myself credit where it's due, studying hard, applying my skills, being so driven and having rules that sometimes don't benefit me, but have benefited me in some extent, keeping a schedule and starting a business and being smart with my money and thinking about things too hard. But I didn't deserve what I was given. But like maybe no one does. You know, like we can't choose where we're born or what family we're born into. Whether it's we're born into the most lavish royal family and have billions of dollars, that's a life. Someone else could be born into a life where they have almost nothing. None of us chose where we started, what we were given. Maybe none of us deserve any of it. We don't deserve wherever we land originally. But then there's a responsibility, at least in my lens, to take what we're given and do the fucking best we can with it. To do the best I can with what I was given. And it has been, it's been a weight.
There is a use to feeling guilt and to acknowledging where we came from. But what I was realizing in this unraveling, the stories I had been telling myself around that topic were not helpful. In fact, they were pretty dark and scary.
The gremlin voice was like, Maureen, what you've been given, which you don't deserve and you can't use. What? It makes no sense. Make sure you're responsible with this. Make sure you don't put this to waste. Make sure you're aware that not everyone has this. Make sure that you're not preaching something that isn't true. Make sure that you're a good person and you're not a privileged white girl going around starting this like woo-woo coaching practice, taking things for granted and not being aware of what it is. I think I just received it because I wasn't letting myself touch it. I wasn't letting myself touch the money I was given. I wasn't letting myself touch the money I've put away and invested. I wasn't letting myself charge what I know I'm worth. I wasn't letting myself own who I am and where I came from and being transparent about that. I mean, I was trying to, but I couldn't step into it. The fuck it is like, I'm ready to just fuck it, to fucking let it go. I'm done putting myself in this scared, again, I didn't realize I was here, but this scared safe bubble. It makes me sad thinking I put myself here, but it was the voice that I didn't necessarily know was like, Maureen, you can't. It was like, you can't do anything. You can't spend money, you can't receive money. You can't really start a business, like give it a shot, but like don't make it too big. You can't tell people that you have this much money in savings. You can't tell people that you didn't earn money last year. You can't own how good of a coach you are. You can't claim what you do for your clients because it's too soft, like it's not important enough. God, fuck that. Shit.
We all have a version of this, a version of a gremlin voice, or the fears or the worries that start to overwhelm us and sometimes dictate our decisions without us even knowing it. That's why walking through this with a coach or in any sort of supportive space, even on camera like I'm doing right now, is so helpful to air out the stories that are otherwise under the surface. So now you'll hear me release this voice and tell the story in a productive way so I can look at the stories, pull out the useful information, and dismiss the rest.
The story was, there are bigger things in this world to worry about than helping people be more self-compassionate with themselves, to trust themselves better, and to make more authentic decisions and live a life that is aligned with who they are. I was telling myself that what brought me joy and fulfillment wasn't worth it and okay to do. It wasn't enough, especially with that privilege weight. I mean, fuck. I was in Minneapolis when George Floyd was murdered, and I know that's like one story that got so much press, and there are so many stories like that. And I look at it and I just think, what the hell? Like, and I'm out here talking about self-compassion, and people are getting murdered for what they look like. Like, I need to be doing something else. I need to be helping that somehow. Part of it is like, I'm still learning how. I'm still unlearning my racism, and I'm still unlearning what I've been taught about so many things. And so I can't teach about that. I follow Brené Brown, and she said, stop, don't teach about this if you're just learning about it. But I was paralyzed because I saw my privilege and I saw what needs to happen in this world. And then I saw what I enjoyed doing, and I didn't give that weight. I don't know if this is making any sense. I didn't know what to do with the privilege I was given, and so I just didn't let myself receive it. Rather than recognize it and then grow and learn and continue to be aware of it, but still live, make the impact that I know how to make at this time.
I want to be extra clear. This is not to dismiss my privilege. This is not advice to let anyone else disregard the privileges that we have. And there are helpful ways and there are unhelpful ways to acknowledge and work with the privilege. That's what I'm sorting through right now.
I am making mistakes right now in terms of how to best impact this world. But what I know for sure in this moment that I didn't know an hour ago is that waiting until I know the things that I don't know now is doing no one a service. But if I show up and do the best that I can today, it doesn't mean that you're not gonna make mistakes. It doesn't mean that you might waste $10,000 or something. That's what I was so scared of. What if I was supposed to use this for something else? I don't know. What if? But like, if you don't use it for anything, what good does that do either? So like, use it to the best of your knowledge and be all in it and be excited and show up and learn and say where I make mistakes and learn from those and show up again. And that does the world way more service than telling myself to stay in this bubble because I don't know some things. I don't know a lot of things, but I do know some things. Is the point of this. And granted, I'm doing things like I have my clients in my group coaching program, and like I'm showing up and I have been doing things, but like not nearly as big as I could be doing.
So the light bulbs are going off, and I'm starting to think this all makes so much sense because of what I mentioned earlier, the Brené Brown book that I've been reading, and specifically grief and guilt, these two emotions that had been so prominent in my life in the last few weeks.
Getting through grief, a huge part of that, Brené Brown shares, is telling your story. And that, if we rewind to the part where I was like, am I about to share numbers? I needed to tell the story. Hopefully inspires you to either tell your story of grief to a friend or to your journal and then to let go of that guilt Brené Brown talks about, as opposed to shame. Guilt is something that's really a catalyst that you want to do something different. I wasn't doing as much as I could be with the guilt I felt for what I have and the opportunities available for me and the energy I have and the drive, like all of the things. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. That can be a self-critical voice for some of my clients that comes up, but sometimes when it's guilt and it keeps reappearing, I mean, that nightmare was so vivid. There was something I was doing that was misaligned specifically with how I can best serve the world and my community. I kept being overcome by the guilt rather than looking at the guilt and facing it and understanding what it was telling me. And to my surprise, what I wanted to shift wasn't burning down the business. I think at one point I thought that's like, you need to do something else completely with your life.
I touch on what sometimes happens when we shy away from these uncomfortable emotions, which is make assumptions about what those emotions might inform us of, whether that's a conscious thought or a subconscious thought. So for me, what I shared is I thought this guilt and grief was somehow going to tell me that I was doing everything wrong in my life, essentially. It was this huge, scary assumption that if I really looked at these things, they would tell me something I didn't want to hear. And sometimes that might be the case. It might get more uncomfortable as we look at these things, at least for a little bit of time. For me, I was pleasantly surprised as I was going through this process that they were actually telling me the opposite.
Instead, the guilt was telling me, show up more in this. Stop belittling your skills and your passion and your purpose here. Please use this. It's not to dismiss, like, my job here is done and I never have to think about my privilege again. Yes, I'm gonna keep learning intentionally and growing in the area to understand more and unlearn things that I need to unlearn and see things that I don't yet see and understand this at a level that I don't yet understand it. And I say this all the time, make the best decision with what you have from where you are. And what I know right now is what I'm attracted to and what brings me joy and what brings me excitement and what brings me relief and makes me feel free and lighter and more confident and serve the people that I haven't had the opportunity to serve because I've been shy and scared and belittled what I bring to this world and what I know and what I have learned so far, which are tools in positive psych. Like, that's worth something. And I didn't let it be worth something before. I didn't let that be important. So I'm starting to understand my place in this and things are starting to make sense and decisions are starting to feel easier. And then from there, I start expanding to better understand lessons I had been taught for years. And finally, they not only make sense in concept, but I get it at a deeper level. And I start to think of you. This, the whole thing, the whole freaking thing is why I'm here. And it's why everyone is here. Like, your story, whatever, I hope you have one of these moments because it's profound. When I was saying, Maren, you can't do anything, when I was in that space, I didn't fully buy into the things that I've heard so many times by Abraham Hicks and other people I really look up to and messages I really resonate with, which is the sole purpose on this earth is to live from a place of joy and not surface joy. I'm just gonna do whatever I want because no regrets. Not that kind of joy. The type of joy that's like, this lights my soul and brings me energy and I freaking love doing it. That's what this is all about, I think, at this point. I don't know anything, but at this point, I get it a little bit more, at least. Kobe Kozlowski, who told me this years ago, she believes that if everyone just did what they were called to do, everything would be taken care of in this world. And that's what I'm understanding right now at a deeper level. She told me I wouldn't get it until later. Yeah, she was right. I was mad at her at the time for telling me that, but yeah, I get it now. I think I finally received the gift that I was given. And not in a way that's what past me feared, not in a way of like selfishness or greed or whatever past me was worried about. I received it in a way where I'm like, I'm gonna do the freaking best that I can to use this for good. And the way that I know right now of how to use this for good is to coach and is to host group community spaces like on YouTube and Instagram that historically felt frivolous. But I know how impactful those spaces can be. So there's just one more section of this video. I paint this analogy that was actually taught to me by my mom about what happens when we receive a gift and what happens when we don't allow ourselves to receive a gift. And I really hope this inspires you to be able to receive whatever gifts that you are being given, that you have been given, because I understand now more than ever
that is the best thing we can do, is to receive these gifts and to look at them and then to ask ourselves, how would we genuinely love to use these gifts?
What if you gave someone like a diamond necklace and they were like, thank you so much, and then they put it in their jewelry box and never wore it because they were so afraid of wearing it? What was the point of giving the gift then? You know, and that's what this is. Before I was keeping it in a jewelry box or like putting it away and being like, I can't touch it. I don't think I deserve it. I'm not going to use it. I'll just put it over here. But now I'm like, thank you. Holy shit. This is a huge gift. Thank you. I'm going to use it for the best reasons. And I get it now. Like, I'm going to use it as best I can for good. And that's not selfish. It's good. It's so much better than not using it. It does everyone so much more of a service. Like any gift that I receive that is so important to me and that I cherish, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to value it. I'm going to bask in every minute that I can with it. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, dance party time.
Before I go, if you made it this far, I encourage you to join this YouTube channel community. We talk all about how to live genuine, authentic lives that serve a greater good and connecting with other individuals who are doing the same. If you got something out of this, I would appreciate a like to let me know. Comment below. Take this even further and connect with individuals face to face. I have a paid group coaching program, and you can get your first call for free in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe, join this community, and I'll see you next week.